Well, we all know that hurricane season is right around the corner. And when you think about it, is your business protected when it comes to disaster recovery? Well, that's exactly what we're talking about with our coastal expert today from Infinity Inc. Chuck Brown joins us. Of course, he's the CEO of Infinity Inc. Hi, Chuck. Great to see you again.
Good to see you, Natalie.
So let's talk about disaster recovery. A lot of people talk about disaster recovery, for businesses, but what do you consider a disaster?
Any event that interrupts your business continuity is a disaster.
So that can be anything. I mean, we're
Sure.
talking about hurricane season, but that's something that definitely you've seen happen.
Absolutely. It can be fire, arson, theft. It can be employee damaging a file. It honestly can be a server outage that you didn't plan for. Anything that interrupts your core business functions would be considered a disaster to the business owner.
So what would you say is the difference between disaster recovery and business continuity?
Well, disaster recovery is like business continuity's baby brother. It's the core of just getting the stuff back that you have to run your business. Business continuity is about keeping your business running during that process. You hear horror stories about people being able to restore their data. So they do they have their backups, they restore their data, they get running again, but it's taken weeks, and in that time they've lost so much business or so many other things they can't ever recover. So business continuity just continues the business running during this process.
And this is something that Infinity Inc. can help put in place to make sure that your business is 100% protected.
Absolutely. It's something we work with each one of our customers on.
So is it just an IT thing?
Absolutely not. I mean, when you think about business continuity and continuing your business, you have so many things to think about. Think about when a hurricane comes, where your employees go, who the key employees are, how are you going to get in touch with them if their phones go down, who has to come back, if your business is underwater, what equipment do you have to replace, where do your files go? There's a lot of things outside of IT that are involved in business continuity.
Now, what about the cost considerations that we're talking about here, the downtime? You mentioned lost customers and,
Sure.
and hurricane season right around the corner. I mean, now's the time to make sure that you have something in place and that
Absolutely.
you're fully protected.
Absolutely. You can't just throw this together. It's something that takes, it's a process that you refine over time. The costs can be huge. What you have to do is look at your applications and see, if I was without this application for days, what would the cost of my company be? If I lost a key customer because they couldn't get in touch with me or I couldn't provide what I need to provide to them, what would the cost of the company be?
So what about backups? Because you mentioned that. So when it comes to backups, is that enough?
Backups aren't really enough. Backups are kind of the minimum thing you have to have because everyone has to back their data up. But even within backups, there are so many different types of backups. Some are completely inadequate for business continuity and some are fantastic.
So what areas of my business do I need to consider when I'm thinking about a particular disaster recovery plan? I mean, what are the things that I need to look for?
Well, certainly IT. How are you going to continue to function? If you're in the cloud, do your employees know how to get to that cloud? What is the plan if they have to go
There
outside?
we talk about the cloud again. The cloud always
It's always
comes
the
up.
cloud, absolutely. Well, the cloud is a key component to many companies' disaster recovery because now they've taken that infrastructure off of their local site and moved it into the cloud where it's safe and secure.
Right.
But you have that if you're a printing company. It doesn't do you any good to have your computers if you don't have your printing presses. So there's all these other considerations about how does my company keep working or how do I pick up where we left off and keep going forward.
So say I have a small business or I'm about to open up a small business. Where do I start? I want to make sure that my business is protected. I want to make sure that everything is cost effective and I can get things running again in case of a disaster as quickly as possible so that I don't lose business.
Well, there are a lot of resources out there. You can start with our website. We have resources there to help you evaluate where you are and some steps you can take. If you have specific questions, you can go to the WSAV.com site and look at the Coastal Experts link and put in a question there that we'll get back to you on. It really is about sitting down with someone who can walk you through the steps of assessing where you are today before you start doing things.
But what are those questions that you can ask? Say someone's watching right now and you're looking for your type of service. What are the things that they can ask to make sure that they are going to be covered?
You mean to ask of the provider?
Yes.
Well, the first thing to do would be to sit down and ask them what their methodology is. How are they going to approach this? Do they have a history of doing it? Do they have documents they can show you from other customers that demonstrate a type of disaster recovery plan you could follow? But again, as with most things in our industry, it comes down to communications. Sit down and work. Find somebody that you can work with on an ongoing basis who will understand your business and understand what it's going to take to keep you operating in the case of a disaster.
And your doors are always open to meet with folks to help them with their businesses.
Yes, they are.
Okay. Well, Chuck, thank you so much for joining us again and providing all the information that you do.
Thanks for having me.
If you'd like more information on Infinity Inc. and protecting your business or any of our coastal experts, just go to our Coastal Experts page. You'll find that at WSAV.com.